What is going on? I mean,
It just took a turn. The thing took a turn, Steve. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, the guy's reaching out to you yesterday, wanted to broker the Middle East peace treaty, Camp David, with Menachem Begum, Jimmy Carter, God rest his soul, great man, terrible president, and some other guy. You got the handshake, and now it's the Bloods and the Crips. What happened?
JB is snapped quick.
Yeah.
So long story short, Steve, JB was giving an analogy, and he just basically, or just using an example. He threw out $8 million. Not saying Cam got paid $8 million, but just using that as an example, saying if players are getting paid $8 million or whatever the number may be, you need to go out there and play. Just saying that in general. So the agent was watching the show and I guess just heard the number $8 million and then hit up JB, said, "You're a liar. Cam didn't get paid $8 million, this, that, and the third." So once the word liar got thrown out, JB snaps, went back to old JB.
Well, $8 million would be Nico Iamaleava.
Here, Steve, I'll read it to you. Fuck it. I'm going to read it to you. Fuck it.
Read it.
They like the Cam and his father and mother would like to join a later date if interested. I appreciate the opportunity. We're unable to join today, this morning. Appreciate you, man. 20 minutes later. Why do you lie so much, man? You could do a great show by sharing facts and opinions without stating such false things like Cam made $8 million when I wasn't even close to that. When I wasn't close to that. That's what this motherfucker said, by the way. But I'm sure you just say stuff to try to get reaction like this text message I'm sending you now. But I stopped watching because it was just lie after lie after lie. And I have too much work to do today to try to correct all of them for you. Really thought you were better than this.
All right, can I clear a few things
You don't want to see my message. You don't want to hear my message. But anyway,
I kind of do want to see it.
All right, let me clear this up. I know what he got. I know what he got. I know people that were involved. It was right around $1.5 million. Now, he was worth it, but I will say this, and a lot of Miami insiders know this. I know people that are intimately involved in this process. He was supposed to sign last Christmas Eve. Everyone was expecting it. And then for some reason, they delayed it. Then he entered the draft. Now, eventually he signed, but here's what it cost Miami. Jeremiah Smith, maybe the greatest receiver in Ohio State history after 1 year. If Cam Ward signs December 24th, we get Jeremiah Smith. So everything comes at a cost. Now, I want to say something. Coming into this game last week, the Pop-Tarts, I told people, this is a scrimmage. I don't really care. Bailey, can you put up the tweet that I put up right after the game? I want to clarify a few things here. Because
let me get it for him.
I didn't really care if Cam Ward played or not. I really didn't, Smitty. Because here's the reality of today's bowl games. If it's not a playoff game, in my mind, they are now an extension of spring practice for the next year. And when Miami blew that Syracuse game, I remember exactly where I was. I was right on my usual table at Coach JB's poker setup. And I said, well, the season's over. I wasn't one of these Miami fans who thought we were going to sneak in as the 12th seed. I knew it was over. Okay? And so I said, we got to turn the page now. This is where I think JB is going to be maddened by what I say, but this is the reality. A lot of coaches now have taken the mindset the bowl games don't matter, and let's find out what we have next year. Okay? After halftime, I tweeted, are we even going to see Cam Ward? Because in my mind, I'm just telling you, Smitty, I actually said, we need to find out what does Emory Williams have. Is he even good enough to compete in spring practice for the job, or do we need to get a transfer portal guy and hope and pray that Luke Nickel, who's coming in, can be fast-tracked? Emory didn't do well. The game plan, I think, showed a lot about what they thought. They thought they could just run the ball, which is you can, but not with that defense. The other part of that game that I really wanted to see is, can Lance Guidry at least show a little nominal improvement in his unit? I think it's the worst coached unit I have ever seen at Miami. We were Keystone Cops on the back seven. We kept getting out-leveraged. Motion discombobulated us. We did not set the edge. We didn't set the table. We didn't rally towards the ball. We let way too many plays bounce outside. Now, look, I am not Asian Buddy Ryan. I don't know football. I just make observations. This is what I do. But let me just tell you something. It reminds me of that old story. Senate subcommittee. Some old politician goes up there talking about the evils of porn. And someone said, well, sir, can you describe or define what porn is? And the guy said, no, I can't define it, but I know it when I see it. And when I see a terrible defense that is uncoordinated to this degree, I know when I see it. I actually believe Mario Cristobal did Cam Ward a disservice because after the game, he was asked about this, Smitty. And instead of saying, well, we came to an agreement, I need to see what we're going to have next year. Cam wanted to play. Let's let him get the record. We're good with this, but I need to move forward too. But when Mario starts acting like the KGB and he's protecting the secrets to the formula for Coke, well, I'd rather keep those discussions private. You just threw that kid under the bus. You just threw that kid under the. I know JB's going to hate all of it, but this is the truth. Bowl games do not matter. Coaches know they do not matter. So I'm not upset at Cam Ward. I actually didn't understand all the outrage because I knew that there was an agreement. Now, by the way, in terms of players only playing partial games, he ain't the first. He ain't going to be the last. Miami played in the Cheez-It Bowl about 3 years ago. It was the COVID year. Yep. Now, that's the game De'Aaron King blew out his knee. Terrible injury. It was never quite the same. Smitty, Oklahoma State had this wide receiver, really talented guy. Right in the middle of the game, said, okay, I'm opting out now. Gundy didn't know about it. At least Cam Ward let the guy, at least Cam and Mario had an agreement.
Beforehand.
So, again, I'm not one of these Miami fans who said, 11 wins makes it a successful season. It was already a failure. You blew it. You didn't make the playoffs. So it's not, it's a good season. It's not the one he needed. The bowl game was irrelevant, but this is the game today, unfortunately.
Here's my point. Here's my take. Here's the take I got. I don't see. Then you shouldn't play these games. Like the bowl games got to be shut down then. And
Coach,
and having said
Coach, you're right.
What I mean,
Coach, I think coaches need to have some balls and say, okay, guys, look, I'm not doing any of this. Either we're going to be pregnant or we're not. If you play the game, you're going to play the game. But you got.
That's what my speech was.
But again,
I did that speech.
Realistically, I don't know if you could do that in today's game unless you are a Nick Saban type.
Steve, we got to stop. There's some sort of cream rolling downhill. The shit rolls downhill, and I want to know who's rolling it down the hill. Because if I'm the collective, I'm one of the first guys to roll the shit down the hill. I'm controlling the money. I want a return on my investment. Then I want the damn jersey front name to mean something, not the one on the back. We don't care no more about what's on the front of the jersey. We are going to school because of what's on the back of the jersey.
I'm with you. And again, this is why we should just make this pro football. Have contracts that are binding, and if you opt out, we take out half your money. This is for the protection of everybody. The institution and the individual.
Then we are losing the fabric of the game. Because I don't, as a former player,
it's gone.
I know. But here's why I got coaches and everyone else that I think would agree. As a former player and a coach, there's no game that I go into not wanting to win. No game ever. And that's game of life, game of fucking poker at Palooza. I'm not going in to lose the game. So I don't know how we can go out now and say, well, you know what? These games don't mean nothing. Let's go out and play. When you go out and say those games don't mean nothing is when you get hurt, is when you don't have any integrity as a character or a human going forward in your life. I see that is the setup for failure that these street agents and all these other people are getting their hands in on. And Smitty and I had a debate earlier, Steve. Why did you go to Miami to play a half of a meaningless bowl game and get out of the game after you broke the record?
Yeah,
that is a selfish act.
Okay, look, I'm not going to argue that, but here's the reality. And I remember tweeting about this a couple of years ago where I said Miami plays in a meaningless bowl game, And a couple Miami fans came at me.
Yeah.
And I said, let me ask you something. If it's so meaningful, why are players not playing? It's funny. I never got an answer for that. But the problem now is I think the coaches have come to the realization, you know what? What does this game really mean? 18 of like Ohio State last year had an excellent team. They lost to Michigan. And by the time they played Mizzou, that team was unrecognizable. Now, a lot of those guys ended up coming back, But I'm not going to lie to you. There's a part of me in the second half, I was a little bit intrigued saying, okay, what's next year's team going to look like? Elijah Lofton, I think, is going to be an unbelievable football player at Miami. I wish we would have gotten him the ball more. Josiah Trader looks like he's going to be the really next good Miami wide receiver. I wish he would have gotten more touches, because at this point, I've already.
Is that Steve or is that me?
I think Mario's got bigger issues now.
Steve.
Guys, can you hear me? I think
It's
that's
cutting
you.
in and
I'm
out.
back.
There you go. You're
Yeah,
back.
it is.
It was a little choppy.
Yeah,
We got you.
A little choppy. It was good now.
I'm back.
Yeah, you're
so
good.
my view was Mario's got to fix that defense. The defensive coordinator,
Steve.
Skidry, to me, you keep him around, good luck with that.
Steve, let me ask you though, if I go in, I just told Matt, I don't think it has to do with the coaches anymore. I don't believe there's anything there's no such thing as development anymore whatsoever. And I would argue that Deion's really not done a great job. Listen to what I'm saying. I'm saying it facetiously. I just talked to it, and Matt agreed, and I think Smitty agreed actually to the point I'm making. I'm not saying that he hasn't done a good job. What I'm saying is, can anyone go in now, bring in a band of 80 guys, and go from 1-11 to 11-1? Are we really judging you on what you've built, or are you just taking guys? Because we're not recruiting high school. Let's just be honest. So the high school level kid not being recruited is where the foundation lies in football coaching. So if I'm not developing high school kids at my institution, you can't call me a developer of men anymore.
No,
I'm just saying.
Coach, this is now roster building year to year. That's the game. Even
that's what I'm saying.
Dabo is now going into the portal. Okay,
But is that coaching? Is my point. Is that coaching anymore? Is that managing like a CEO? It's a business now.
It's still coaching. Dan Lanning coached better than Mario Cristobal. And he brought in a lot of new parts. Brought in Jamie Caldwell, tackle from Houston, a couple of his really good wide receivers. They're transfers. Dylan Gabriel, he's a transfer. I'm just telling you, Coach, I get it. We don't have Ed Reed, Sean Taylor, and Ray Lewis out there. But when you cannot line up correctly and understand leverage, okay, and understand what motion is supposed to do on the back end of a defense, we are talking about football install 101 in spring practice, and in game 13, you have an issue. Mario Cristobal says something. How you do anything is how you do everything.
Everything. Yep.
Well, Mario, defensively, we couldn't do anything right.
Let me throw a caveat. I got to throw a caveat at it.
That's on him, and yes, that is coaching. It's not just a bunch of players who aren't good.
Well, it's not about them not good. What if I said I got a bunch of great players and I'm coaching 101, install 101, and these kids refuse to listen or take it to the field because they're worried about the next bag of money and what school to go to next? That shit starts when the portal opens in spring and summer.
You know what gives you leverage, though? Playing well. These guys didn't play well at all. They didn't.
That's my point.
I mean, I really think college football needs to just say, look, we're not amateur sport, not college football in 1973. Make it with contracts, make it with extensions. You know what? I'd even go all this way. Have trades, have a waiver wire, cut people. I mean, you really want the accountability and to have some leverage back to the institution and the program. And all these people saying, defending Cam, though, I will say this, that the players for years were exploited. Right, they were. Cam wasn't. See, that's where I'll say, well, wait a minute. Cam actually got paid. What are you talking about? So you can talk about every other player that never got paid over the table, not under. That applies to them. It really doesn't apply to Cam, though.
Yeah, he got paid. He got taken care of. Yeah, he's good. So
I just don't get it. I think every year, if you're looking forward to what our spring team looks like, which is not going to be the fall team either, by the way, I think we're setting ourselves up for failure as a fan base, as a ticket holder for certain schools. Even in the NFL, Pat McAfee's viral right now because he said, screw the Colts. When are the fan bases, like the Steve Kims of the world, going to say, you know what? I demand more. I'm a ticket holder. I pay money. I help the program. And I got a guy that doesn't want to play the second half for what's on the front of my jersey, not for the back. When are the collectives going to say, well, screw you then? I'm not paying you no money if you're not going to give me a lead. You haven't won a bowl game in 8 years, Steve. That should mean something.
Their last bowl game win was Mark Richt's first year. They played West Virginia, That's Brad
Wow.
Kaya's last game as a Hurricane. And
Oh,
Miami fans
how
always
long
rip
was
Brad
that?
Kaya. And I'm like, why do you rip Brad Kaya? All he did was leave his body on the field. Set
How
school
long
records.
ago was that? How long ago?
That was 2016.
So 8
Yeah.
years, 9 years.
Yeah, and so, look, the bowl games don't mean as much as they used to. I mean, Coach, I'll be honest with you. I've only watched 3 or 4 bowl games. I
Me
watched
too.
some of the SC
I was on the
A&M.
boat.
I watched, obviously,
I was
the
on the
Miami
boat.
game. Then I watched Colorado BYU. And then I'll watch probably all the playoff games. I'll watch that. But I really, to me, the bowl games now are the beginning of winter and spring conditioning leading into spring ball. I know you hate to hear that, Coach, but there's a realization
But that
even
spring
from the
ball team-
programs.
No, but that spring ball team you're referring to is not even going to be the team that you see
You're
next
right.
season.
You're right. But
That's-
what do you do if all your guys just opt out? What do you do?
Well, no, what I'm saying is we gotta nip it in the bud and say, all right, either you're on a 2-year contract with my institution,
I've said that.
or
You know
if you don't
nothing I
play
would
in
do,
this
Coach?
game,
You know, nothing I would do. If you're not going to play the game, no matter what type of year you had, now the young guys are going to hate this, but I don't give a shit. If you're not going to play the game, you don't even get to go on the bowl trip. You don't get to get the fancy sweats. You don't get the gift bag. You
None
don't
of
get
the
to go to
perks.
Disneyland. You want to sit out, sit the fuck out. But you're not being part of the team activities. You can argue that you earned it. No, you earned it by playing. That's where I'm a little bit hard line. You don't get to get those fancy sweats and be on the sideline and all these people pretend like you're doing this noble thing. I would just say thank you for your service. You can start your NFL draft combine prep. Anyway, we have a bus to catch. Bye. Right?
Steve.
That's me though.
Let me ask you this, Steve. Yeah, you brought up a good point about the bowl games being meaningless. At what point do you feel like that started to become that? Because in my opinion, it happened when the 14 playoffs started. I think as fans, we thought if you're not in the 14
Well, that
playoffs, then you're
accelerated
irrelevant.
it. Smitty, that accelerated. A couple things happened. Look, Christian McCaffrey was the first big name player to do it. Also, an extension of that, one of the Bosa brothers got injured early on in his last year at Ohio State. I think their third game on. I think they played TCU in Dallas at the Cowboy Stadium. I remember watching that game on press row at a fight. He got injured, and he made the announcement a week or two later, hey, guys, I'm out. I'm preparing for the NFL draft. But what really accelerated it was the Jalen Smith injury. And that really told people, like, oh my God, this kid lost millions of dollars. Guys, it's a football game. Football things happen. You know, I was there when Will McGahee blew out his knee in the Fiesta Bowl. Everyone knows the risks of playing football, Smitty. You certainly did when you played.
Yeah, hell yeah.
and that's my point, Steve. That's why you got to finish the games that are on your schedule. Like, I just don't understand. If I'm going to pay you, number one, this is not. If we're going to call these kids grown now, and we're going to say they're professionals, is what they're saying they are.
Right.
Then you play the damn games. You clock in and clock out like everybody that's on a salaried position, because you're on a salary now. And you're going to be giving me my get back. I want some return on my investment. Once we stop,
would you have the same mindset if you were a player's agent? Like, if you're Cam Moore's agent, are you telling him, hey, you got to play the whole game? Or are you thinking differently?
No, see, that's the problem. That's why there's a difference between an agent and a street agent.
Right, facts.
I believe Cam Moore's guy is a street agent. I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say the next.
I think he's a marketing agent.
Yeah, he is, because I know Weddle had him.
Here's another thing that Miami does that I like. If you are in good standing with the university, because I know players that have done this. If you are an athlete that's in good standing with the university and you did not finish out your degree, let's say you left early, something happened, they allow you to finish out your degree. They don't charge you. They're like, hey, you're on the universal scholarship, I think is what they call it. But if you pull something like this and you just pull the plug, I say, okay, well, then you're not getting that either. There has to be a penalty.
That's my point.
Coach likes to say you are making adult decisions, which in turn, in theory, should come with adult ramifications. Now, I don't know what you can do, Smitty, in terms of, do you make it deferred payments? Do you give them half the money in increments and then the other half when they fulfill all their obligations? I don't know how you do that. But again, we need to get out of the guise of this being intercollegiate amateur athletics. It's not, at least not football is. Maybe volleyball is, maybe softball is, maybe cricket is. Division I football at the P4 level is not.
I think some NIL money needs to be incentive based. You know, guarantee X amount, but then the back half or back whatever, if you make it to a bowl game and play in that bowl game fully, you'll get, you know, the last 250,000 or whatever that amount is. To me, that's
here's my take on the agent question you asked me. If I'm a real agent, then I don't suit up in the game at all, or I play the whole game. I don't suit up, or I play the whole game. I'm not advising my client to get his feet wet and then pull him out because the water's too cold and not go back in. That is a bad agent, because you're either going to do it or you're not, because there's a bad optic out there, and we've seen too many guys drop stock because of what they did off the football field. I can't depend on you. I have narratives of this. Caleb Williams just went through this narrative, and now he's on the sideline like this.
So maybe like, you think playing a half or 3 touchdowns, 400 passing yards is worse than not playing at all?
Not playing at all, right? I mean,
say it again. I hear you.
You think playing one half, which Cam Ward did, through 3 touchdowns, I think damn near 200 passing yards, you think that's worse than not playing at all?
Have you ever had some bomb-ass head and she didn't let you finish? Yeah, drop the fucking mic.
Drop blue ball.
Mic. Drop the fucking mic. I'm not talking about it no more. Don't start something and not finish the shit. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, but look,
it's better than
I enjoyed that first half. I did. I was like, this is good. It was a microcosm of the whole Miami season. Great offense, terrible defense, poor special teams, and I kind of had this sinking feeling, we're gonna blow this, especially without Cam. I just knew it. But I said, but if this spurs Mario Cristobal to make a change in his defensive staff, I would take the big picture play, because Miami winning a Pop-Tart Bowl, I mean, is it really serious when you have a big Pop-Tart mascot doing the fucking crip walk on the 50-yard line?
No, but that's my point. Then don't even go out there. And Mario Cristobal, though, Steve, if I'm Mario, when I address my team, as I told Smitty earlier, hey, man, listen, this is going to be the plan of attack. We're going to go in here with Emory. What's his name?
Williams.
Emory Williams. He's going to be our guy. All right, let's go. Cam Ward, we appreciate your services. You're going to go be a first-round pick, and everybody goes hype. We get hyped for that. Those 2 reasons. Our whole team is either all in or all out. I'm going to see the demeanor of my players when I make that announcement, Steve. Now, the other flip side, I'm going to go in there and say, you know what, guys? Cam's going to play a half, and he's going to break this record. Now, we're going to go with Emory after that, okay? But if it's a close game, Cam's not going to come in. And I'm going to see a dejected half of the roster, and then I'm going to see a team that's going to be like, what are we doing here? I'll know the plan of attack as the leader of men. I can't do that. I got to go in with one narrative. There's got to be one directive, Smitty or Steve, from the leader of men. I'm just telling you.
I completely agree with you, but in today's game, as critical as I've been of Cristobal on certain things, this one is a tough one, because Cam has meant so much to this team. But I'm with you. In retrospect, if part of me, if you would have said, let's say we all got into a hot tub time machine 7 days ago, and they said, Steve, Cam Ward's not going to play at all. You guys are going to ride with Emory Williams and see what next year's team's going to look like. I would have said, great, because I want to flip the page. Cam Ward can do no more for his draft stock, because it's not going to hurt his draft stock. Let's get over that, too. The NFL will not punish a guy for protecting himself in this particular atmosphere.
Not anymore.
Environment. They're not.
I agree. Okay. I agree. I don't think it at all.
I mean, if there was ever a game where Damian Martinez should have had a 300-yard rushing game, and by the way, shout out to Damian Martinez. You were slandered by our own fan base. You are going to be a hell of an NFL running back. That guy was a great player for us. You should have got the ball more this season. Anyone in the second, maybe late first, that needs a bulldozing, wrecking ball, dial him up. And I would have liked to see it. But again, I'm just a fan. I'm just a crouching tiger on my couch watching the ball game.
And Steve, I'm going to be honest with you.
I think what can you do about it?
I'm with you, but I think this is a narrative and an optic that no one discusses out here. Miami, in all fairness, has been a bad football program for quite a while.
Very mediocre, no doubt.
And Cam Ward on half of your fan base is looked at as a god that resurrected a bad football team. Can I be honest here? No one wants to discuss it. Hey, Cam Ward, you left Wazoo to win one more fucking game at Miami,
hold on.
homie.
Miami won 10. I don't think Washington State won 9. I think they won 7.
No, they were 8-3 at one point, so they either won 8 or 9. So
Wazoo struggled down the stretch last year. They did. I know they blew out Colorado, but they won a couple more games.
But you get my point. Like, we're not leaving. We're leaving for I can see. I'm leaving for this. But you gained 2 more games.
Here's the thing. Here's what Cam Ward got. Cam Ward, I believe, is draft grade.
They were 5-7 last year, weren't
they? They were about a 500 team, Smitty. Look that up. Yeah. They were not an
5-7 last year, if I'm not mistaken. Look it up, man.
No, you guys missed my point. Wazoo won without Cam Ward. What are we talking about?
Well, John Mateer's pretty good. Mateer's pretty good. But here's what Cam Ward got out of this. He got to play with a much better offensive line with NFL guys, at least 2 or 3. He got to play with the best slot receiver in the country. Good set of backs. He went from a 3rd or 4th round draft choice to a guy that people are saying is a top 5 pick. So he did get something out of it. This was a mutually beneficial relationship, Coach.
I'll be honest. Can we be clear here? His draft stock was from last year, Washington State, not this year.
No,
I'm just telling you.
Coach, if it was that high, he would have never came to Miami. He would have stayed in the draft. His draft grade was a 3rd to 4th round grade last year.
What I'm saying, no. I agree with you. I'm saying what he put on paper on film last year at Wazoo is what got him to where he is right now. Not just this year at Miami alone. Last year set him on a catapult like this. He now got to pick and choose where he went because the debacle in the Pac-12 that eliminated a conference. And this guy was like, hey, I'm going to go somewhere. And Miami ended up being the place. He was on the radar from Wazoo, though. It wasn't like he was nobody from Incarnate Word.
I'm with you, but look, John Mateer is a hell of a quarterback. Oklahoma's getting a good one. I don't know who he's going to play with over there. They seem to be an empty cupboard, but that's the game now. And look, I am not a fan. I think there needs to be changes in terms of the transfer portal, just allowing guys to transfer every single time without even sitting out. You have caused anarchy and chaos. I don't like it. There is no roster development. You are right about that, Coach. And I think certain players have to realize you're just better off staying at a school 4 or 5 years, get your degree, and move on with the rest of your life. You're not, and not all of these guys are getting 6-figure NILs. That's the other thing people do not realize. They make it sound like every player's getting $500,000. They're not.
And we got to address the silent tripods and the fucking idiots in the chat. He didn't play against NFL competition at Washington State. The Pac-12 was the best football conference in America last year. What are you talking about? These guys
was good last year.
These guys just don't understand. The Pac-12, by the way, is how many teams in the national championship playoff this year?
Arizona State was in it.
Yeah. And Colorado won 9 games who left the conference.
Colorado won 9 games. By the way, Oregon is the number 1 team in the country. So I don't know. I think the Pac-12 actually went on a high. But look, Mario Cristobal now has to self-reflect. I heard there's going to be a staff change or 2. I've heard a few things that are interesting. I hope he does the right thing. If he sticks with the current makeup of the defensive staff, he's going to lose the fan base. Not that he cares, but you're the one making $8.5 million. I'm just a fan. I have no say in this. But let me just tell you something.
By the way, the ACC is fucking awful. So I don't know where you're comparing the ACC.
Right.
In a
this was a relatively weak Miami schedule. But let me just say one thing about the Miami defense. When guys who really know football that actually break down the all-22, guys like Roman from Orange Bowl Canes, Hurricane Jay's out there, shout out to him. Lance Roffers, Hurricane Vision. These are guys, Steve-O, all these guys know football. They actually look at the all-22 and they explain it. What went on this year at Miami was a fireable offense. All you needed to be was slightly below average. We're probably in the playoffs. I'm not asking for the 2000 Ravens. Really, you were historically bad. And I just look at this thing. It went beyond players because I remember at the Georgia Tech game, me and my buddy Roland, and Roland's out there. Hello to you, Roland. There's this older black gentleman who was with his wife, and it was really, he must have coached the game because he's just like, oh, here comes the motion. We're out leverage. Like he's literally calling out the plays and don't have enough guys on that right side. And we're like, what? This was not something. This was football 101. Now, here's another thing I'm going to say. It's going to upset people. We need to get smarter football players. Our football IQ ain't that good. We may have to recruit nationally. We may have to get players that have a smarter football intellect because motion kills us.